Hey guys, it's me again, Eric, and I'm here to talk to you about another interesting horror film. This time I want to talk to you about a movie called The Jar. Now, The Jar is not a widely known horror movie, okay? And even amongst those who have seen it, it's not well regarded. Generally, from the people that if they have seen The Jar, they don't like it. They dismiss it as being a slow movie. It doesn't make sense. The Jar was made in 1985, but it wasn't released until 1987 by Magnum Entertainment on VHS. It's never had a North American DVD release. I don't know if it did in any other territory in the world. So all we have here in America is the Magnum Entertainment release. Now this one is a sealed copy. I have a few copies of this movie. This is my nicest copy, still in the original wrapping. It was directed by a man named Bruce Toscano. The lead actor's name is Gary Wallace. Portrays the main character, whose name is Paul in the movie. A group named Obscure Size did the synth score, and the score is phenomenal. I really enjoy the music score to this movie. I don't know if it was just one guy that did it and just put his name as Obscure Size, or if it was really like a Goblin-esque group. I'm not sure, but my hats are off to Obscure Size because it's a really good score. It's about this dude named Paul. He lives in an apartment all by himself. He's kind of an unkempt looking guy. He's got a beard and mustache. He's kind of got that Jesus Christ look going. And he sweats a lot. And he's kind of got a bad fucking attitude. Well, he lives alone by himself in an apartment. And what happens is he comes into possession of a jar. And inside this jar is this creature. This little demonic monster of some sort. And this thing starts to wreak havoc in his life. But let's go back and I'll tell you how he comes to acquire this jar. At the beginning of the movie, it's all dark. It's a very dark beginning. Blackness all around. And the main character, Paul, is driving down the highway. Now, all you can see is blackness, but under his face, there's this really cool lighting effect where there's like a green light that illuminates his face. I really like this because it really adds a nice atmosphere. Right from the jump, you got nice atmosphere going. So he's driving, and he gets into some kind of car accident. But like I said, because the lighting is so dark, because there's not a lot of illumination in the surrounding areas, you don't know, did he hit another fucking car? Did he drive into a ditch? I'm not sure. All I know is he gets into some sort of accident and there's an old man laying at the side of the road. Now this old man, he's got nasty, bushy eyebrows. He looks like death warmed over, and he's just real gangly, and he just looks like this guy's really weird looking. Well, Paul gets out of his fucking car and he goes to the side of the road and he picks up this old man. And he says to the old man, I need to take you to a hospital. You're injured. You're hurt. We need to get you checked out. The old man's like, no, I don't want to go to a hospital. So Paul says to him, okay, well, I'll take you to where you live. Wherever you came from, whatever. And the old man's like, no, I can't go back there. I can't go where I came from. So Paul basically doesn't know what to do with this old piece of shit. So he says, okay, I'll take you back to my fucking place, you prick. I'll put you up, I'll clean you up, but you gotta promise me that after I get you cleaned up, you gotta let me take you to a hospital. Well, the old man doesn't say anything, and so Paul ends up driving this old fucker back to his apartment, and he lays the old guy down in the bedroom. And he says, okay, I'm gonna go get a wash rag and I'm gonna clean you up. I don't know if Paul was planning on jerking this guy off or what, you know, but he laid the guy in his fucking bed, for Christ's sake. So he goes to get a towel. When he comes back, the old man has disappeared. Nowhere to be found. The guy just disappeared into thin air. Okay, so this is where it starts to, the creepiness is enhanced tenfold now. Because this guy's gone. But he left behind a jar about yay big. And inside this jar, like I said, is this nasty, slimy creature with a really ugly face. And it kind of just glares out of the jar. okay? And this thing has some sort of power, okay? It's almost like this creature inside the jar has been around for many, many years and has been passed around from person to person. It holds some kind of strange demonic power and can kind of possess the mind of whoever comes into contact with it. Like if you get this jar in your house and you become like the sole designated owner of it, it will twist your mind and make you see all kinds of strange visions and take you into different delusions and hallucinatory realms and make you experience things that aren't quite of this world. And that's what it begins to do to Paul. Paul starts to have hallucinations. He walks into the bathroom and he looks at his bathtub, and his bathtub just starts to fill up with blood. Blood starts to come up out of the drain and just fill the entire bathtub with blood. And then like some kind of body comes out of this shit. And then he imagines this sharp spear going through his stomach, and it's like it totally impaling his stomach, and you can see some blood and grue coming out of there. And then there's another part where like a spiked ball impales part of his face. You see like the nails going through, and there's some blood dripping down the side of his head. So you get a little bit of goriness in these visions, but they're also there's a lot of religious symbolism of sorts. There's parts where he imagines he's being crucified and he's on a cross. In another hallucination, he's seeing these black-robed figures, and they're taking some kind of Christ-like figure, and he's walking with the cross. He's going to be crucified, and he's carrying it across this desert. He has fucking hallucinations where he's in some kind of Vietnam or some sort of war, some kind of military operation somewhere. And it just crazy shit. And the dude is totally losing his grip on reality. There's this girl that moves into the apartment complex, and I think her name is Crystal. Anyway, for some reason, she takes a liking to Paul. She wants to get to know him, and all Paul does is push her away. But she keeps coming over, asking if there's anything she can do. Would you like to go out to dinner with me? I mean, here's this guy. He's a fucking dumb, goofy-looking motherfucker to begin with, and he's got this cute girl, and I mean, she's really cute. For some reason, she wants to be around this weird prick, and I don't get that. And he's mean to her. He constantly says when she's asking questions, he says, "Do you ever stop asking questions? Just go on, get out of here." And then, you know, she'll turn and start to stalk away, you know, dejected, and then he'll run after her and go, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm sorry I did that," you know, that kind of bullshit. And that kind of goes on throughout the whole movie, this push and pull between Paul and Crystal. She's really the only other character that comes into his life. Well, his boss shows up from time to time and says, "Hey, when the fuck are you coming back to work? You haven't called, you haven't shown up for your shifts." So this guy's just a mess. He's just hallucinating through the entire thing now that he's got this damn jar. Now, the best factors about this film are, first of all, the synth score by Obscure Size. It really just punctuates every scene. It punctuates it perfectly. The synth sounds are great. For instance, there's this one scene. It's really creepy, where Paul thinks that he's hugging Crystal. He's in the hallway of the apartment complex. He thinks he's hugging her. But then the camera pulls back and you see over his shoulder that he's actually hugging the old man. And it's just really creepy. That old man has a very, very freaky looking face, okay? He has dead eyes, just this distant gaze like he has no soul. So anyway, the synth that's playing underneath this scene, punctuating the action, it sounds similar to the cockroach sounds in They're Creeping Up on You, the segment of Creepshow. Well, if you remember what the synth sound the sound effects were, that's the sound that's playing on the keyboard in the jar during the scene where he's hugging the old man. And it just really puts you on edge. There's also really good driving synthesizer motifs in this movie that really just they're just totally 80s. 80s to the max. You know, imagine all the great synthesizer stuff that came out in the 80s, like for instance, the score to Creepshow, or the intro song by that guy named Michael Rubini for The Hitchhiker. Just stuff like that. It's got that kind of vibe. And that's another thing I want to say, speaking of The Hitchhiker, which showed on USA, The Jar reminds me of something like if you ever saw that short film, The Dummy. Well, they used to show that on USA Network in the 80s when they'd have like Saturday Nightmares. They would run short films every now and then. And they would be really creepy and kind of, mysterious. Well, The Jar has that aura about it. It seems like one of those weird student film USA Network type things, type short films, but stretched out to a feature length. That's what it seems like. The Jar was filmed in Denver, Colorado. I do believe it probably was like a student film of sorts. But for what it is, I mean, it's really an interesting curiosity. You've really got to see this movie because there is nothing else like The Jar. You'll have to agree, if you ever do get around to watch it, if you haven't seen it, watch it and you'll see there is no other movie like it. There's nothing I can compare it to. It stands on its own. The movie just has this oddly compelling atmosphere. Even when there isn't the keyboard and synth score driving the action, there's this somber, eerie quietness where the movie will just go silent. Because you gotta understand, the whole movie, it just centers around this guy losing his mind. He has the jar, and he keeps trying to get rid of it. There's a scene where he takes it to a dumpster and throws it in the dumpster. It's back in his fucking apartment that night. There's a scene where he takes like a fucking broomstick. He smashes it. And this scene is done in slow motion and you see the jar explode. You see the little creature kind of bounce across the fucking table and water go everywhere in slow motion. A real stylish shot. I like this. I like how this movie's shot. He smashes that fucking time. Somehow, later on, the jar is intact again, and the creature just sits, staring at him. The next fucking day, he takes the jar, he says, I gotta get you out of my life. He throws it across the room, shatters it on the ground. Wouldn't you know it? It's back again. He can't get rid of this thing. It's like that story in Stephen King's Skeleton Crew, that story called The Monkey, where that little monkey toy with the symbols, where it's like cursed and everyone's like dying and you can't get rid of it no matter what you do. It's like that. This is some kind of cursed being, creature, entity, whatever the fuck it is. He can't get rid of it and it's destroying his life. I have to say that I didn't enjoy seeing the lead actor's dick, okay, in a couple scenes. There's one scene where he's taking a fucking shower, and it's one of those shower stalls where the sliding door is like that blurry thing, but you can still make shit out, and you can see his pubes and like his dick, the outline of his dick through the glass door. Then there's a scene where he's like kneeling naked, and when he stands up, you can see his dick there when he's walking. So that's interesting. If you like seeing, if you want to see the lead actor's dick, they show it a couple times in the movie. The girl, like I said, that lives in the complex with them, she's really cute, but we never get to see her nude, unfortunately. There's a scene where he imagines, he has this delusion that he's making love to her, but it doesn't show her tits or anything. His big sweaty ass is on top of her, so you don't get to see her in the buff. And yeah, this movie, suffice it to say, I'm not going to give away the ending, but I will tell you, this movie doesn't end well for anyone concerned. It's a downbeat ending, and at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense. There are questions that remain unanswered. It does not wrap things up in a nice, neat bow for you. Another thing I liked about this movie was the end credits play in total silence. You got this great score that plays on and off throughout the movie, but then at the very end, when it's running the credits on the black screen, just eerie silence. I like this. It's just really cool because after the weird ending, you're left wondering about what just transpired in front of your eyes and what did it all mean? What was this movie trying to convey to me, the viewer? You know, it kind of leaves you scratching your head and leaves you to ponder. And so you're looking at the black credit screen and there's just no music. Just creepy, eerie silence, giving you time to just reflect about what you just saw. And then, the icing on the cake, after all of the credits have run and you've seen all the cast, all the filmmakers, you know, everyone involved with the production, on the screen, the very last credit, all it says after it comes to a crawl is Sharon. Okay? Now, in Greek mythology, Sharon was a ferryman, okay, that would take the souls of the dead and they would sail across the river Styx to Hades. That's what Sharon was. You know, he was the person who would take them across the river Styx and into Hades. And so that's interesting, but what does that mean? How exactly does that tie into what we just saw for 90 minutes? It leaves you room to think. It's another interesting thing about this fucking movie. So to sum it all up, The Jar moves at its own pace. It's slow. But even though it's slow, to me, it was entertaining. It's one of those movies, it's not fast-paced, it's not moving at a fast clip, but it left me riveted. I was riveted to what I was seeing on the screen in this movie, and I've watched this movie probably about 5 times in my life, and each time I enjoyed the experience because it got my mind working and made me think. And that's all you can ask for a lot of times with a film like this. So if you ever want to watch a really weird movie, turn off all the lights in your living room and put this movie on. Put on The Jar, watch it by yourself, watch it in the dark, and just let the mood wash over you. Let the strange score wash over you, and just bathe in the strange imagery. All of the psychedelic and weird colors and interesting things, even though it moves at its own pace. This stuff really washes over you and gets you in a certain type of mood. So just check out The Jar sometime and see what you think. It's not as bad as some people make it out to be. It's a very interesting film. And like a lot of life's strange, unexplained phenomena, it's neither good or bad. It just is. And that's what is really compelling about The Jar. So if you enjoyed this video about The Jar, leave me a comment, click the like button, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe, because I'm making videos all the fucking time. And hey, let me know what you think of The Jar if you've seen it. Do you think it's an interesting movie like I do, or do you think it's a piece of shit? Let me know. I'm always interested in hearing your thoughts. And I'll see you guys again real soon.